Assata Shakur. Right? Again, if you don't know who I'm talking about, Google, still free. Assata Shakur once said, "Black revolutionaries do not drop from the moon. We are created by our conditions." And I think that this was a metaphor to say that the rage that, as Baldwin says, comes from any black people who are paying attention in America is not illogical, but comes from a framework of continued oppression over the course of multiple generations. I think that's what she said when she meant, or I think that's what she meant when she said, black revolutionaries don't drop from the moon. And I agree. I also thought, what if they did? So, this poem is about black revolutionaries dropping from the moon. And it's called Arrival Day. This will be the last poem. It's a true story. It happened under cover of night or early morning, depending on who you ask. The hour when the press stops running, when the baker arrives and unlocks the door. The cables came down, silent and charcoal, matte and slithering. They hit the earth and coiled at the foot of a tree, on a bus stop bench, atop a mound of cigarette butts in front of the dialysis center. Later, when the NASA boys looked for footage of the arrival, surely some security camera in some parking lot somewhere in America, that hour was all blank. Everywhere, all blank, like as if each of them had a magnet for a beating heart, their veins murmuring, clear it away, until the tape was empty. In the years before, when the hateful men warned of the coming, crushing aluminum cans in their hands while their friends threw darts, or in rowboats tying flies, they spoke only of darkness. Their eyes will be dirt, they said. And they will cover the windows with tar in the places where we talk to God. They will seize our daughters, who will return to us in rags, holding mud babies and asking for a room to sleep. The hateful men and their wives wore reading glasses and drank cinnamon tea on the days when they wrote letters to each other about how the coming people would steal, how they loved the sound of grinding teeth in place of real music, how the girl ones were greedy and lustful and felt no pain but made endless noise, and how small ones could trick you looking like children, but their skin was mercury and they could not be shot dead, so do not fall for it. They wrote their letters on glass and plastic and metal. They said, they are coming, and they will paint everything black. So they had no words for the moon people when they did come. And the moon people could not be captured. Camera lenses looking on them turned to salt and cast white trails across the eyelids of the looker. And the moon people were dressed in every color. They wore saffron yellow and cool cigarette green and Georgia clay red, and they wore violet. They wore violet, and they were loud. As their hands worked, hammering the iron of the jail cell doors into lovely wrought curls and bicycle chains, smashing the fare boxes at the train stations into wind chimes, and bowing low to the passengers as they entered, some sashaying through the turnstile, some dropping it low as they went underneath, they sang. The moon people had been listening all this time, and they knew all about Sam Cooke and Aretha Franklin and Mahalia Jackson and Marvin Gaye and Missy Elliott, and they sang while they smashed the bottle on the police squad cars, a Hennessy bottle, or a Coke, or a pressed kale juice, whatever was near enough to say, this here is christened a new thing, and they drove them down my street, and your street, and your street, and your street, the tires painted to look like vinyl 45s, and the children tied yarn and ribbons to the windshield wipers, and the moon people turned them on high as they drove, so that the colors waved in the sunlight, which was now streaming so clearly onto the porch, where I sat, rubbing the rusting chain of the swing and thinking of grass, when the boy down the street, who in smaller days I walked to school when his mother had to go to work early, who loved lime popsicles the best, who danced his way from his own porch to the basketball court in the afternoon, who the police had recently declared a man, stopping him mid-two-step to ask questions that he could not answer because the query beneath each of them was, why are you alive? And none of us can say. That boy, he came to me, and he walked up the steps where the paint is peeling and knelt at my side, and I did not look him in the eye. Instead, I watched a firefly, the first of the summer, land on his left shoulder, and I thought, here are two glowing ones. But he did not notice, only held my hand and told me, we are free now. And I could not believe I had lived to see it. The promised light descended to us at last. Thanks, y'all.